Yeah.
All right, guys, here we go. We are in week 16, flying high with the birds. Eagles talk. With me today are the newlywed. Will, what's up?
What's going on, guys? How you doing? Another big win on our push to the playoffs.
Yeah, big win, especially that great first half. And the podcast chaplain, Jimmy. How you doing, pal?
What's up, guys? How are you?
Good. I am Eddie Munster, and we're missing someone today. We are
Star
missing
of the
the
pod.
Armenian Hammer, so he will not be able to talk to us about the line. We need to know what the line is. So hopefully we'll find that out maybe before the podcast is over. But anyway, the Eagles win on Sunday 34-10 against the New York Giants to avenge their earlier loss 13-7 a few weeks back. They now go to 8-7, and it's their first winning record since week 1. And as of the end of today, if the playoffs were to start right now, they would actually be the 7th seed and for the playoffs. So they have 2 weeks to go, both very big games, and it'll determine if they are in the playoffs or not. The Pro Bowl alternate, Jalen Hurts, goes 17 for 29 for 199 yards, Will's favorite player, with 2 TDs. And as a team, they ran for 130 yards. So I think it's like 8 weeks in a row that they ran for at least 130 yards, which is incredible. But on the downside, Miles Sanders left the game with a fracture in his right hand. He will definitely not play this week. Hopefully he'll be back before the end of the season. And Jordan Howard with a stinger, but it came out negative yesterday on the test, but he's had an injury history of that issue. And a couple years ago, it kept him out for the rest of the season. So hopefully he'll be coming back. Devonta Smith with 5 catches for 80 yards and a highlight reel tightrope TD in the end zone. And here's a really cool stat. TJ Edwards was the number 1 rated linebacker in the NFL this week with 16 total tackles / assists, which is an abnormal amount. He had 1 pass breakup, nothing for first downs, and allowed. And that actually was a 90.7 grade, which is extremely high. So he is really coming into his own, and he turns out to be a very, very big pick for that football team. But let's start out with Jalen Hurts. Will, see if you can just break down this game and why he's been so bad against the New York Giants. Is there any way you can possibly try to explain this?
Well, let's just, before I talk about why I don't think he's successful against the Giants, let's go over his stats against both of them. 2 weeks ago, he was 14 for 31 with 129 yards, completion percentage of a 45.2, a QBR of a 15.6. This week, a little better. 17 completions for 29 attempts, 199 yards, which one was a long one to Watkins for 46 yards. So, that's kind of why he's a little higher, but it's still a completion percentage of 58.6, QBR of a 40.7. To me, I'm just still not seeing him survey the field and move off of his first read. He's kind of staring down receivers, and just like in his press conference after the game when he was talking about, how he's making his reads and why he didn't throw the ball to Goddard, it kind of, to me, it seems like he was coached to stare down his receiver to see if he's there or not. And then if he's not, he goes to whatever his second read is, but he doesn't really even check to see if the guy's covered or not. He's not, to me, he's just not being coached the right way, or he wasn't coached the right way from when he was younger. And I don't know if that's due to his QB coach now has been working with him, for pretty much his whole life. But something is definitely off there. He shouldn't be, staring down receivers. He should be letting the defense dictate where he goes with the ball. He should be reading, whether it's the linebacker or the corners or the safeties to basically move him off of his first read, not if the receiver has, enough space to kind of get away from that first throw.
Yeah.
How are they winning these games, though? And that's my question. Is it the
They're-
product of the teams that they're playing right now? Because it looked so ugly in that first half. And then all of a sudden, they just turn it on the second half, and you're like, wow, where was this in the first half? I mean, I just feel like when you play a good team, you're not gonna be able to do that. You're not gonna be able to go into the playoffs and play the Cowboys or the Buccaneers or whoever, the Rams in the first round of the playoffs and start a game off like that. You're going to be down 28-0 before you can blink.
Yeah, Jimmy, and the thing is, the Eagles' offensive line is unbelievable.
It's
this year.
incredible.
Absolutely unbelievable. And they're manhandling defenses on the ground. And late in games, defenses don't want to, keep hitting back. That stuff really wears down the defense.
Yeah.
Ground and pound like that. But you're right. When we start playing better teams that can score on us, you're going to force our offense to kind of either stay the course and maybe they'll have success and they'll be able to stay in games that way. But if they have to throw and the defense is, seeing that we have to throw, I don't think Jalen Hurts can do it. But because of the way the schedule turned out this year, running the ball, it's very successful and we can beat these teams. And honestly, I think we'll still win this week, and who knows what's going to happen against Dallas.
Yeah, I agree. If we get behind 14-0 in the game, that's going to get ugly, I think, because Sirianni's just going to just abandon the run almost and just go with throwing the football. But, I really tried to break down her, and I'm a big, proponent of Hurts. I think he's really going to be a good quarterback in this league. I still think he is. In all my years, it's probably the worst half of football I think I ever saw. I thought that the first half against Washington or the first half against the Giants, the first time they played them, was the worst, but this absolutely was the worst. But, when I looked at everything, and I actually went over that game 3 different times, I think the play calling really also had a lot to do with why they did as bad as they did. And I don't think that he got the looks Hurts didn't get the looks that he wanted to get. One thing that the Giants were doing, and they did it in the first time they played them also, when they blitzed on the edges. And I think that's the way to beat Hurts. You have to beat him on the outside because you don't want him to get outside of you and run or go outside and throw the football. So I think that defensively, the Giants did a really had a really good game plan. And they also have very active defensive backs. It just fell apart in the second half. But let's just think about this for a second, okay? The Eagles was it 3-3 at the end of the half, correct?
Yep.
It was 3-3 at the end of the half, okay? The Eagles scored twice right away, but they had short fields to work with the first 2 times they had the ball. The first time, Jake Fromm threw the pick to McLeod, and McLeod ran it back to the 21. So they only had 21 yards to go, and they scored a touchdown. The second time, it was a really bad punt that Rieger made a really nice play on it, and he returned it right up the middle and took it, I think, to the 21 again. So they had a short field to work on the 2 times, okay? And also, in that third quarter, I don't know if you guys remember, but Hurts also connected on a long pass to Devonta Smith where he came back for the ball, and that might have been about a 40-yard completion. And I think that got them either in field goal range or they scored again. So when you look at it, there were 3 plays in that second half that really made the game as bad as the score of the game as bad as it was. So I'll tell you, I saw more flaws in this game with Hurts. But one thing that I do like about him is it's not how you start, it's how you finish. He always finishes strong. And I think that's one thing he's always going to have going for him. So You
Yeah,
know,
he doesn't get rattled. Like I will give that to you. Like he starts off like he's in no man's land. He's lost. Then he gets it together and I turns in a decent game. I mean, there's just a lot of questions about him. Like, is he a legit franchise quarterback? Like, it's
Why is that
still
though? Like, why does
yeah.
he always get slow starts? And
Is
then
it preparation or is it?
Why?
I think you got to attribute some of that to coaching. I really think that, I just think that Sirianni was out coached in the first half of this game. Maybe it's because they didn't have enough time to prepare, and he was not with the team until I think the day of the game.
Day of the game.
Yeah, the day of the game. So that may have had a lot to do with it. But he didn't have a lot of time to prepare. I mean, honestly, they just played Tuesday. So I believe that may have had something to do with it. And, and I think that Sirianni will learn something from it. But Jimmy, let me go to you now. Let's talk about this running back situation. Sanders looks like he's until he got hurt again, he looked like he was the best running back in the NFL over the last month of the season. He's really played good. But are you comfortable with, possibly maybe for the next couple of weeks, at least the end of the season, having to go with Boston Scott and Kenny Gainwell?
That's what I was thinking about today, actually. That scares me. I mean, because Sanders has been electric. He's been electric, the plays he's been making. And then obviously, when you bring in Howard, he provides the thunder. He hasn't been ruled out officially, Sanders, right?
Oh yeah, no, he's not playing Sunday. He's out.
Did they officially rule him out?
Yeah, they said he's not playing.
I didn't even
He's
hear
not
that.
playing. Now, Howard, they have no word on yet. And that's normally
So
on Wednesday, they'll say something.
Those are two big blows.
Just to throw it out there too, we did sign Kerryon Johnson this afternoon.
Oh, I didn't see that. Oh, really?
Onto the practice squad. So there's a chance that he could be moving up on game day.
It's just a shame too, because everything was working so well, the offensive line and Sanders and Howard and the running backs, and it's definitely throws a wrench into everything.
Well, Kerryon Johnson's a little bit of a thumper also, so I think he fits more of the mold of Howard than he does Sanders. I think it might be a good pickup for him. I really thought he was a really good running back coming out of Auburn until he had his two bad knee injuries when he played for Detroit. So I think it's a good pickup.
This is a great offensive line too to run behind. So.
Yeah, that's true. The other good thing is the fact that it's a week. Like Vahe was saying during the game that Hurts physically doesn't look the same. He only ran the ball twice. Maybe it still is that high ankle sprain, and maybe he's a week more healthy to be able to do a little bit more this week, which would really help everything. But well, you're feeling also on the running back situation with just the two of them right now.
It's definitely worrisome. But I think they can manage it. I mean, Boston Scott, we've seen for short, coming in on short weeks and giving excellent games. I do think Jordan Howard's going to play. But I think Boston Scott can fill in just fine, and it would be really nice to see what Kenny Gainwell has if we do give him carries. He's a little smaller, and I really like him coming out of the backfield, but we really haven't seen him run between the tackles too much. So, it might just be nice just to see how he does, just to see if he's that type of back going in the future.
It's that old motto, next man up. Now's his time to show what he can do.
Yeah, but
that's huge.
Yeah, I think they're going to bring up Kerryon Johnson anyway, but honestly, I see most of the carries going to either Jordan Howard or Boston Scott.
Well, if Jordan Howard?
Yeah.
But if Jordan Howard's not playing.
Well, if he's not, then I see it Boston Scott in Gainwell.
Right, and then I would say that if Howard is not available to play, that Kerryon Johnson is going to be called up, because the other two guys really aren't good blockers out of the backfield. Kerryon Johnson is a very good blocker out of the backfield. that was one of his strengths coming out of college. So I think that might be one of the reasons right now. But, that's obviously going to affect the scheme and the play calling that they're going to have offensively with their running attack if they're going to run. But, honestly, like you were saying, Will, at the beginning of this program, that running backs anymore are like interchangeable. If you have a stable of running backs and you have a real good run blocking offensive line, you're going to be successful. So I don't know. In some cases, I think maybe it doesn't matter too much who they're going to give the football to if they're running the football. But the key, once again, this coming week is, they can't get behind. They want to keep that running attack going. And they have to play some, and Hurts has to play smart football, and they have to have a good half.
Yeah,
They can't play. They played the first half of last week, or they're going to be in trouble.
yeah.
Oh yeah.
Washington's playing for their playoff lives. The Eagles just beat them 2 weeks ago. Washington just got smoked by Dallas, so they're going to be fired up for the game, you would think. So the Eagles have to come ready to play.
Yeah, if it turns out that we're having trouble running the ball, Jalen Hurts needs to step up, especially this week. I mean, we have a chance of making the playoffs if we get a win and another team gets a loss. So it'll be real eye opening if we do have trouble running the ball, to see what Jalen Hurts can do.
Will he make you a believer this week, Will, if he can rush for 100 and lead in the victory?
No.
As a quick note.
Let's not get ahead of ourselves, all right?
Yeah, but let's look at it this way, guys. I mean, there's and we've talked about this many times, there's very average quarterback play right now in the NFL, and that's why there's a lot of parity in this league. I mean, the great when you talk about the great quarterbacks, you got Brady, who's been slipping a little bit at 44. Rodgers, still a good quarterback, but he's 38 and he's hurting. He's got a bad toe. And then you got Mahomes, who was, right now is right at the top of the heap as far as quarterbacks are concerned. But who else do you really have? There's no Watson. There's like Breeze is no longer here. Stafford's hot and cold though.
Allen's a player. Allen's good from Buffalo. Allen's a player.
He's a player, but he's had a stretch of bad games too. And a couple of years ago, he was not one of the dominant quarterbacks. So I think, when you look at the Eagles, they have two good quarterbacks right now. So they always, everybody's busting Howie Roseman's stones about, the quarterback factory and all, but it really does mean a lot. And he's always seemed to have more than one capable quarterback. And right now he's got two guys that were starters in this league playing. So, I think it starts up front. They're the ones that make the big money. And, I wouldn't have a problem with either quarterback playing right now. And I think that they have enough to be able to, get the job done with everybody else they have on the line and the skill players and all. So Goddard had another drop pass. That's 3 in 2 games. Will, is that something to be concerned about?
No, I think he's just losing concentration. He's not looking the ball in. I know he's a great tight end. He's got outstanding attributes. That guy is a physical freak, and he's gonna be, I think, top 5 tight end in this league. He just needs to focus and watch the ball, and I'm not too worried about it because I do see him week in and week out make some pretty great catches.
There are a lot of drops on Sunday, I noticed. I don't know if it was the sun or what, but there are 4 drop balls in the first half alone. I have Goddard dropped the one. Sanders dropped one right in his hands.
Howard dropped one.
And then Slay had the pick. It hit right
Slay
in
had
his
a pick that he dropped it. That might have been the sun in his eyes. And then Rieger dropped one too.
I don't know if it was the sun for all of them, but it was just, you never really see. It was 4 of them in an hour, it seemed.
But when I watched all those plays again, and the only one that really would have made a big difference was the one that Rieger dropped. The one Rieger had potentially had a chance to gain a lot of yardage on that pass. That's a really nice play where they have the outside wide receiver actually, cutting in, and it's a very, very good play call, and it works a lot. But, let's go to Rager real quick, Jimmy. Do you see Rager in the last couple of weeks coming into his own a little bit now?
I mean, he's got to show some improvement, but I'm still like, I think the biggest problem is, everyone knows they should have picked Jefferson. I think he knows it. He sees the stats. I think it's a big head thing. And I think it's weighing on him, and it shows in his play. I mean, he did have the real nice return was it the second half where he had it?
Yeah.
I mean, also you want to see him improve. I mean, Nelson Aguilar, you remember how it was in the beginning with him, and he was fairly decent by the end here. So
yeah, but Aguilar's first 2 years were bad. I think he started to come along his third year.
Right, and maybe we can hope the same for Rieger. I'm not a fan of him, to be honest. And obviously, I'm a Jefferson guy, but hopefully he keeps showing improvement.
Not for nothing, most receivers do take a year or two to really get, going and acclimated to the league. I mean, there's only a few of those real top guys that are like outstanding their first year, like, Waddle in particular. But there's a lot of receivers that don't kind of see actual, like we don't see progress from them for a few years.
And the other thing, like we said, everyone's going to always compare him to Jefferson, and everybody sees the numbers he's putting up. So it's just like
it's unfortunate too, because I mean, we know we should have picked Jefferson, but I mean, he didn't ask to be drafted over Jefferson. It's not his fault. Yeah. But honestly, like I see, his demeanor on the field. He does take off some plays.
Yeah, he does.
But when he does have a drop, it's not like he doesn't care. It looks like he cares. He hears the boos, and he's still coming out there to play each week. So
he had two good punt returns. I think it was the first one he got about 12, 13 yards, and he got that out of nothing. And the second one was really pretty good because it was a bad punt. He came up and the ball grabbed it, and right away his first instinct was to run up the middle because it was open. And he did make a good return. And I think he may have had 2 receptions. So at least he's getting receptions. His punt returns are starting to get a little bit better. So maybe we're getting something out of him. Who knows? I don't know. Yeah, I think I don't know. I'm starting to see something out of him. Real quick, let's take a commercial for Kitchen World. Is your kitchen or bathroom outdated or in serious need of repair? Since 1987, Kitchen World offers the latest in custom, semi-custom, and even stock cabinetry. The designers offer the absolute best in custom design right down to the exquisite molding details. That's Kitchen World, with showrooms in Philadelphia, Bucks, and Montgomery counties. Call Burton to set up an appointment at 267-228-9875 or check us out at kitchen-worldinc.com. All right, defense.
Hold on, real quick. Just want to make a quick interruption because I just got a notification on my phone. John Madden dies. 85.
Wow.
I had a feeling he was really sick when they were going to do that special on him.
Yeah.
That something was wrong. I think he may have had Alzheimer's or something. I think possibly. I don't know how old he was, but the last couple times I saw him on TV, he looked like he was, he was really like looking old. So that's really a shame to hear. And speaking of that, speaking of news, Will's absolute favorite quarterback, we're just going to go off course here just for a little bit. Carson Wentz, the unvaccinated Carson Wentz, has now is in the COVID protocol. It's not been said, I don't think, whether he has COVID, but he's out at least 5 days, and it could end up being as many as 10. So he's out for this game, and this is a very big game. They're playing the Raiders this week, and there's a lot of people in Indianapolis that are not real happy with the decisions that guy has made. I don't know if you guys have any quick comments on that.
Hopefully they lose the next 2 games, right?
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't matter to me anymore. We got the draft pick, so
yeah, that's true. Oh yeah, and speaking of that, I'm going to give the Armenian Hammer credit for this. He actually texted as of right now, the season would end now, the Eagles would own the 19th, 20th, and 23rd pick in the draft. So even though the the hammer is not on with us, he has really contributed mightily to this podcast. So now they're all the teams are winning. All three teams. Miami's got what, eight in a row or 7 in a row?
8, 7. They're in the playoffs.
Well, they're in the playoff picture right now, so it's going to be really tight.
They got the 7th seed as of right now.
Yeah, is that amazing? That is really amazing.
Isn't that just our luck?
Yeah. Let's talk about the
They're going to play the Titans and the Patriots still at the end. So.
Yeah, that's going to be 2 tough games, and you're talking about teams that need those wins too. Let's turn to the defense. For the 4th consecutive game, this team has given up less than 20 points. Now, I know. Look who they've played, but I say this is the NFL. I don't care if they play Jacksonville for 4 weeks in a row or the Jets, but that's still pretty darn good that you gave up, that little points. I mean, Jimmy, your thoughts on how the defense is going, and in particular Gannon's scheming?
Hey, they're showing improvement, right? It's like you said, they may be playing no-name quarterbacks, but you got to beat the teams you play, right? And they're improving. That's all that you can ask for. I think the rumors going around today that he might get a head coaching job or an interview for a head coaching job are a little crazy, but
I hope so.
Yeah, well, in a way, yeah, somebody would take them, right? But they're improving. It's a far cry from how it was in the beginning of the year, and maybe it was a little unfair to them. I mean, you saw the schedule at the beginning of the year. It was kind of brutal, the stretch of teams they were playing. And we've talked numerous times on this podcast, show me some improvement. That's all we want. And that's what we're seeing right now.
Yeah, I agree. But, I think he's really trying to play to the strength of his players. And in all fairness, you have to give him some props, at least from this sense. I mean, he's never been a defensive coordinator until this year. So, and the same thing with Sirianni. I mean, if you take, I guess it was about a 4 or 5 game stretch there where nothing was going right. The offense, the defense, everything. And they said that they were the worst coaching staff in the NFL. It was maybe those 5 games that made them better coaches. And I think Gannon, especially, you have to give him credit. I mean, I think that Gannon is the Jalen Hurts of defensive coordinators right now. Like he's always getting his stones busted, and he really is doing good. I mean, the last 4 or 5 weeks, I think they were ranked in the top 3 in defense. So, I don't care who they played. It still is a lot to say for a guy to have his team playing like that. And everybody to a fault is really, with him in this in the long haul. So, I'd like to see him here next year. If he gets a coaching job, a head coaching gig, I'd be happy for him. But I also think that he could also, be a very good defensive coordinator for this team down the road. Real quick though, on the defensive line, I focus a lot on the defensive line and see the pass rush. I will say that I think Cox is starting to get more pressure. And speaking of that, I believe that Barnett's on the protocol, right? The COVID protocol. So he may not play this week. And his back, who's the other guy? Oh, Taron Jackson, I think, was also listed on that. So that's 2 defensive ends that they're going to be down. And they got that. Did you see that new guy, 80, no, Malvo? He was 89, I think I can't remember his number, but he was playing defensive end. He played pretty good. He's a real tall guy, and they believe in him. I never heard of him. I think he was on this team last year, I think. And he looks like he's got a little bit of juice in him. So he's going to get extended reps this week. His name's Malvo, and I don't remember what his number was. So he might be playing a defensive end. But that's going to be key against this Redskin team that they got to play this week. Now, let's really quick talk about the Redskins or the Washington football team. I'm sorry. The big thing is that they got their quarterback back. So Taylor Heineke will be playing, and he is somewhat of a dual threat quarterback. He can throw, he can run. I think he's going to pose some problems for the Eagles. And the majority of the players that were out due to COVID a couple of weeks ago when the Eagles played them are now going to be back. I don't, you guys can tell me if you think any different. We keep talking about, the trap game thing. I don't see this as a trap game at all to the Eagles because I think they know what they're up against. I think this is going to be a very, very tough game for them. Give me your thoughts, Will.
Yeah, I think the whole trap games is out the window right now because all the teams are basically competing for playoff spots. Washington, I mean, they did lose last week and got embarrassed to the Cowboys. They're still not eliminated, so they're going to want to come out and play. And the Eagles kind of embarrassed them the week before too, so they have a lot to prove. But yeah, it scares me just by the way they were embarrassed by the Cowboys, and they had Payne and Allen fist fighting on the sideline. Like they should be absolutely embarrassed. So they're going to come out to play. At least in the first half, they're going to give us their best shot. So I am worried about this game, but I don't think it's the trap game. I think the Eagles are going to be prepared. I think Sirianni is going to have them fired up, and it should be a really good game.
Your thoughts, Jim?
Yeah, I'm 100% worried about this game. I mean, I think Washington, I said it earlier, they're playing for their playoff lot. The game's in Washington. Washington just got hammered last week by Dallas. I think they lost 3 in a row now. Washington, is it? Is it 2 or 3?
They lost to Dallas 2 weeks ago, I think.
Also. Yeah, so it's 3 in a row. They lost to Dallas and us and Dallas again. So I think this is a must. It's a very tough spot for the Eagles, especially going in there without Sanders now. It'll show a lot if they can win. I don't think it's a trap game. I think the Eagles go into this viewing this as a must-win game. Like, hey, we win this game, we're pretty much in the playoffs right now.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm definitely worried. I'm definitely worried about this game.
Yeah, Dallas did whatever they wanted to Washington. They could run the ball. They could pass the ball. Everything was working like at will. I'm not even sure if they had one stop the whole time the Cowboys starters were in.
No, I was watching that game and I'm thinking Sunday night, I was like, wow, this isn't what I want, what we want. This isn't good.
And Rivera's going to really have them playing hard.
He's a really good coach
this coming Sunday. But honestly, do you guys see? I think if it's close at halftime, I think the Eagles can dominate the second half, especially with the running attack and slow down and tire out their defensive line. And I don't see Washington scoring a lot of points because they're not a team that scores a lot of points. They always depended on their defense, which is something that they're really struggling with big time. So, but one other thing I'd like to bring up, and it's something we haven't talked about for quite a bit. The Eagles really, cut down on their penalties quite a bit, especially over the last 6 or 7 games, but they had quite a few of them this coming week. They had 11 that were accepted, and some of the penalties were just flat out stupid penalties. So, I don't know if you guys see that there's sloppy play playing a part in all this or what.
Do you think playing 2 games in 5 days?
That's a great point, and not being prepared to play as prepared.
I kind of thought that. I kind of picked up on that too, and that's what I was thinking. Like maybe it's 2 games in 5 days, but
yeah, I think you're absolutely right. These guys are tired. They haven't had their full week's rest to let their bodies rest. They're kind of going out there and just fighting, scratching and clawing everything they can do. So these games are probably going to be messy.
Yeah, I agree. Before we go to the predictions, any last minute thoughts, any nuggets or anything you guys would like to bring up? That's something I think we need to do. We should talk about like a nugget that we saw during the game that really, impressed somebody. I don't know if there was anybody in particular that,
No, I did hear a lot today on the radio. A lot of people complimenting the draft picks and the works of Howie Roseman and how many guys are contributing right now, which is great to see. I still don't really like him because he's messed up so many high draft picks for us, but I'll give him credit when he's due. A lot of the guys that he drafted last year and
And the year
this year
before.
are really contributing.
Yeah. Yeah.
He just can't make the obvious pick, right?
Can't make the obvious.
Yeah. Well, that's true. But who knows? Maybe that first pick, that left tackle that they picked first about 3 years ago, might be able to come through in some way, shape, or form. But I don't see it happening. I don't even see him being able to sniff the field with who he has in there right now because everybody's so far ahead of him. Here's a question I got before
How
we go
about
to
how about the Lane Johnson touchdown? That's the nugget. That was nice.
I got mixed feelings on that. I
That was
think
cool.
you know what?
You
I
think
think
they should?
they should have saved that play because that's a play that would work in a tight situation. They didn't need to do that. I mean,
Do you think they did it because he didn't make the Pro Bowl?
that's
Is it-
possible. Yeah.
like-
I mean, all the linemen went over and went crazy as soon as he scored. Like every time I watched it, you see all the linemen like sprinting to him, and obviously with everything he's had going on with him in his life with the depression and everything, I'm sure
Right.
contributed. But I'm going to ask you guys one more question, okay? Before we go into our predictions. Will and I were talking a lot about this today. With the way Dickerson's playing and how Sayamalo has really been a rock at that left guard spot. When he comes back next year, what happens? And let's just say that Jason Kelce does come back at center.
It's a good problem to have, right? It's a good problem to have, isn't it?
Well, let me ask you both this. Do you guys see taking Dickerson out of the lineup?
They're
At
not
all? At
No.
all?
No, I think they'll keep him in there, but if he isn't, getting better at pass protecting, but if he comes out next year and they want to test Jalen Hurts and see if he's developing as a passer and he's struggling, I can see them putting Sam Allen right back in.
Too much depth in the O-line.
But to be honest with you, if Sam Allen comes back, completely healthy, and Brandon Brooks does not come back, which is looking more and more like it's not going to happen, I can see Sam Allen taking the right guard spot.
That was my next. I was going to ask you that. So is he done here pretty much? I kind of had him written off this year. Is he just done, period?
Well, we talked about that again today, too. After he got hurt in the San Francisco game, there were a couple games you would see him on the sidelines with his sweatpants and his hat and everything on. I haven't seen him on the sidelines at all, which makes me feel that it might be a little bit more than an injury situation with him. And it's just a shame because he was he would have fit in like a glove with these run blockers. He was a thumper, just like Dickerson is. And it's just a shame that it looks like he may not be on this team next year, but and they could use him now because you're getting some injuries, especially at the right guard spot, which is where he's played. Driscoll's out, and I know Herbert got hurt again, and I know they got Sue Opeta that can play there, who's really good too. But excuse me, Brooks just he was in a league by himself as far as I'm concerned at right guard. So, but I guess the big question I had is if everybody comes back, Brandon Brooks comes back, Sam Allen comes back, Kelce comes back, does Dickerson sit next year?
No.
He can't.
He can't. Exactly. He can't sit.
Every time I watch him, he's pancaking somebody. Between him and Mulata, he moves people. So great draft pick. I have to give him credit for that. The two Alabama guys, and then Milton Williams is a great draft pick too. His third pick, he's coming along real good, and even Taran Jackson, who I think was their 6th round pick, he's playing good. He's developed a pretty good spin move. Taran Jackson. All right, let's go to the predictions. Last week's predictions against the Giants. The final score was 34-10. All 4 of us picked the Eagles, so we're still in it. Will picked 23-17 Eagles. Vahe was 30-17 Eagles. Jimmy was 27-13 Eagles, and I was 31-10 Eagles. What do you guys
You got-
think?
You got it?
Did Eddie Munster win it 2 weeks in a row?
You got it 2 in a
Oh,
row.
man.
2 in a
Look
row.
at you.
So that puts
2
me
in a
up
row.
at 3. Vahe, I hope you're hearing this, but you are now tied for second place. Jimmy's got 5. Vahe and I got 3. I'm not even going to tell anybody what the newlywed has. That's not good. So
He's married. He won already.
yeah, he's married. So he's due for another off week. Let's go to the predictions for this week. Vahe already gave me his. He said 20-17 Eagles.
Says that every week.
It does. Like
Let's give
Jimmy
it up.
said. Like Jimmy said, he's a genius. I guess I'll go next. I'm going to say, oh boy, I'm going to say 23-14 Eagles. Jimmy?
I hope I'm wrong, but I'm going to go 24-20 Washington.
And I know why you do that. You do that because when you think it's going to be close and everybody's going for the Eagles, you go the other way thinking you're going to get another win. I know the way you are.
I honestly thought, like when I was looking at the schedule, I think it's hard to sweep a division opponent.
Yeah.
And I just see them splitting. Like, I hope to God I'm wrong, but I kind of see them, going 1-1 against them. That's my theory. But
Yeah. Well, are they going to flop in the first half again and give me your score?
Yeah, they will flop in the first half, but they're still going to win 27-17.
nice.
27-17. So I think that's good. All right. Any last minute thoughts before we wrap this up?
No, just real sad to hear John Madden passed away.
Yeah.
And they just said he was
Icon.
85 years old.
Grew up listening to him.
Yeah, he's an icon.
Listening to the games, playing Madden.
I was listening to the Eagle Eye podcast, and Reuben Frank had a great story about John Madden. He said it was when the Eagles, I'm pretty sure it was Super Bowl Sunday in 17 with the Eagles. And he got there a little early, and he went to get to one of the service elevators to go up on the floor, and he was standing in the elevator. He went in by himself to go up to whatever floor he had to go to. And the door stayed open for a second, and this whole group of guys came up, and Madden was with them, and Madden was right in the middle of all of them. And Rube sees him, and Madden's not talking to anybody. He's just looking straight ahead. And the guy said to him, "Can we use this elevator?" And he goes, "Well, I need to get up to my thing to get set." And they go, "We really need to use the elevator." And he looked at Madden, and Madden didn't say a word. He got out of the elevator, inconvenienced himself, and let the other guys get in and use the elevator. He ended up being 10 minutes later or whatever, but it was a really funny story that he brought up. All right, but anyway, we'll wrap it up. That's week 16, flying high with the birds. Eagles talk. This is Ed Munster. We'll see you guys next week.
Later,
Later,
guys. Happy
All
New
right,
Year.
guys.
Yeah.